What's up, everybody? We're live with our Monday live stream here. Hopefully, all our Comcast woes are done with for a while. They actually ran out of replacement line last week, and it's actually sitting on my lawn. They're going to be coming to bury that some point this week or next week. But the point is, the internet is running a lot faster. It's a lot stabler. And if you guys noticed, we're actually streaming out to YouTube right now at 4K resolution. It's 60 frames a second. We're actually upscaling to 4K. So if you guys hit that 4K quality, you'll actually see a lot more detail. And we're going to try to do this because everything is actually working correctly. We've got the bandwidth going out. So yeah, things are working well. And just as a backup in case Comcast decides to go down or we're having issues, we actually have right above me this little silver cylinder here sitting on top of my printer enclosure. That's actually a T-Mobile 5G modem that is connected to their network, and I actually get about 150 down and 50 up on there, and the latency is only about 20 to 30 milliseconds. So we have solid backups in place. We got rid of our Verizon LTE for the backup. This T-Mobile 5G, literally I set this up about an hour ago. So we should have redundancy, and knock on wood, we should be able to stream no matter what, whether Comcast is down or not. So unless Comcast and T-Mobile go down at the same time. So we have dual WAN connections, and they're both pretty good. So there are a lot of issues with the actual line going to our house, multiple splices, corrosion on some of those splices, and yeah. But we got a brand new line from the pole all the way to the modem, and everything's good. So I'm not seeing any issues in OBS here. We're streaming out a solid 30 megabits per second, and everything's happy. So how's everybody doing? I don't really have too many tangents to go off on today. I have, you see this big box sitting here. This is the humidor project. I decided not to stream it because I was working on Sunday and just was like, I just want to get it done. So I did a lot of 3D printed stuff in here. I used an ESP8266 board, these little guys here that you can find on Amazon and eBay and all sorts of stuff. These are like $6 a piece. They're really awesome little devices. I'm running one of these for the Peltiers, so that's how I'm heating and cooling it. This is an H bridge, and you can find these are usually for motor control, but as you can see, here's a problem with them. And I fixed these after I get them. I put thermal pads. They literally have the heatsink screwed right to the PCB, which if you read the reviews, they short out. So what I usually do is I'll take these two screws out, put thermal pads. These are like $10, so you know what you're getting. It's like the printer. So yeah. But anyways, this is what I use. A Peltier, I don't know if you guys know, the reason I use like these wine cooler or wineadors, they call them. This is usually for like putting bottles of wine, and they don't get super cold. But the reason I use them is because you can control them, and this is an H bridge, which means you can flip the polarity. So on a Peltier cooler, it's like a flat piece. It's a flat square. It's got two leads coming out of it, a red and a black. And when you apply power to it, one side gets hot, one side gets cold. Well, if you flip the polarity, it reverses which side gets hot and which side gets cold. So I'm able to take this unit that only cooled and make it heat and cool. So in the summer, I need it to cool, but out here in the garage, I run the heat low when I'm not in here, which means the temperature can get too low, which can damage the cigars. That's what's going in here. So having heat and cool function works really well. Also, you guys might see there's my assistant Bruce in the background there. He's inventorying all the filament. How many rolls are we up to?
About 140.
140?
Have any idea?
I have a problem. Those are not our product filament. That's just random rolls I have. So anyways, this is the tray that I designed. You can see here, this is Sunlu Wood PLA. It is a very stringy filament. Now, this is annoying, but this cleans up really well. I'm printing these out of a wood PLA just to get it so it will help hold some moisture when it's in the humidor. You want to have not just the cigars in there, but I don't have Spanish cedar, and I'm not a woodworker, but I am proficient in 3D printing. So one of these takes about 16 hours of print on my Ender 5 Plus. My only gripe with and this is, I found this with every wood PLA, is they string. They really like to string. So I'll take a razor blade, I'll get out as much as I can, run it around the holes, and then I'll take a heat gun and they come out looking clean. I've got 2 of them already in the humidor. That one printed last night. There's another one printing right there. I can fit 5 trays total in this. I think all in all in, including the filament, this should hold well over 400 cigars, and I'm right around $250 for the unit and the filament and all the electronics, which is a lot cheaper than you can get a just dumb, cooling only humidor for, if you can even find them. So, yeah. So, anyways, there's our tangent. I will show a picture for you guys who are interested. I did snap some pictures of the electronics before I closed everything up, because I know you guys are going to want to see. And I used crimp ferrules. I was testing out the samples I got from our suppliers, because we are going to look at carrying crimp ferrule kits. And I have to say, it just, not only is it a better connection, but I just love how it looks. So this is what's in the back. The only thing that's not pictured here is the ESP8266. The ESP8266 is on a little board here, and all these little DuPonts go in here. Inside these little enclosures here are the little IRF520 MOSFET modules. This one controls these 2 rear fans. These come on when it enters a heating or cooling cycle, and then they stay on for 30 seconds after it exits that cycle. And then this one here controls the LEDs that are on the inside of the unit. And I've got a little 150 watt Meanwell power supply in here. It's an LRS 15012. And you can see I got my power lines here. These 2 feed the Peltiers. And then these 2 split off to the fan and light control. And then this other one here feeds the 2 step down converters. I have 2 of them. One running at 8 volts output to power the front panel on it, so it just still shows the temperature. That's all it does. I just retain that so I can at a glance see what temperature it's at. And the other one is I have set to 5 volts output to power the ESP. And you can see here, this is the H bridge that I was showing you. So you got the power input coming in here, and then this is the Peltier output. And then there's 8 I/O pins on here. You've got a ground and VCC. There's 2 diagnostic pins which are not used, and then we have a PWM input for the left and right phase. You don't want to power them both at the same time, because then it will just short positive negative. And then we've also got the 2 enable pins to actually enable each phase, which I just have pulled high all the time. And then the PWM inputs, and the ESP will never pull both those high. It's only one or the other. They're latching. So this is what's in the rear of that unit. It's just another picture of it. And yeah, fairly simple. It gets the job done, and it's also connected into Home Assistant here. And this is what it looks like here. This is my Home Assistant panel. You can see here, this is my first one I built with its thermostat, and here's the other one. I just have some humidity packs in there. I'm getting it all seasoned and everything. It's a little high. And then the cooling is a little slow on this. And that's because the what's the word I'm looking for? The Peltiers are actually made to run on 16 volts. I'm running them at like 13.5. And what I might do is take them out of series, because there's two in series, put them in parallel, and then just limit my PWM to like maybe 70% duty cycle. So anyways, but yeah, there we go. So I did that Sunday night, and just got to clean it up, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. So there's our tangent for the day. Let's see here. TJ Dorman is our first question, and he said he's got an Ender 5 Pro. I checked it for the grounded chassis, but none and very little to the case of the power supply. The power supply is a Lanlida. What was the other name that it looked like a Meanwell knockoff, but I can't remember the brand name. Shoot, somebody help me out here. It's not Lanley. Lanley is a case manufacturer. I'll have to come back with it. Those ones are not terrible. I have one in one of our print farm printers just because I haven't had a chance to swap it out. It's an Ender 5 Pro. I think it was a Pro. Yeah, it came with a BL Touch. It was a Pro. They're not terrible, but if they're not grounded, I would definitely at the very least open the power supply up and redo the grounding screw. The grounding screw is right by the ground terminal, and it's inside the power supply, so you got to take the top lid off. Or just swap it out for a Meanwhile. The 350 watt 24 volt Meanwhile we carry fits that printer. It's a drop-in replacement. The screws for the power supply are underneath that sticker that's on top of the actual control box on that machine. So you have to peel that sticker up, or what I do is if you just kind of take a screwdriver and feel around, it's towards the center, if memory serves correct. It's been a while since I worked on one of those. But you can kind of feel where the indentation of the screw head is, and then you can literally just shove an Allen key through the sticker into the screw head. So, or just peel it back and peel it off. One of ours, we just peeled it off completely. So, but let's see here. Why is the dog freaking out? Oh. Anyways, let's go to the next question. So, Mike, I'm sorry I forgot the intros today, but we're just going to roll into it because I have a lot to do today. But I want to get you guys questions. So, Mike is asking, he says he's on a drive home from work. A friend of mine has a Seriton S that prints fine for about 8 or 9 hour long prints, but his Hotend is jamming on longer prints. I would check and see if, one, your Hotend fan is working. If it's an older machine, it could be that the Hotend fan, the bearings on the stock fans are very prone to failing. They start wearing down. They might make a grinding noise when you first turn the printer up. It's kind of like a noise. And then once the printer is on for a bit, it kind of breaks in, and they will stop making noise. The other thing is if your friend put a very low flow fan, like one of those 4010 Noctua fans, like the tan ones with like the brownish colored blades, those don't move enough air for the stock Hotend, especially if it's a 4010 millimeter size. So I would start there, jamming up on longer prints. If it's fine for 8 to 9 hours, it's probably going to be something related to cooling, and that's because the longer prints, your heat is slowly creeping up and up and up in the heat block, and it's called heat creep. And what happens is the filament gets too soft, and it's getting soft before it should, and then it leads to a jam. So I would start there. Start with the simplest thing. So let's move to the next one here. Matt said he got his ground wire drilled and tapped on his aluminum bed, installed a Humera, and he's swapping out his power supply for a Meanwhile, and he's plugging it into an easy plug. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, Mike is also asking, any ideas what he can do? Suggest getting a volcano-style Hotend and a larger nozzle. No, you can do longer prints on the stock Hotend. It's just, you got to keep that heatsink cool. So, especially if he's got a higher ambient temperature, I don't know what like his environment's like, but if it's in a garage where it's hot or you're in a warmer climate, the heat creep is more prone to happen. But if you have enough airflow going across that heatsink, it shouldn't happen unless you're like, printing out in the beating sun and it's, 100 plus degrees. You don't have anything to worry about. So, but let's see here. Let's see. Vika says he wants to give props for Peter in our tech support. Huge help with info about troubleshooting. Set up his 427 board. Awesome. Peter's been getting a lot of props. Might have to give Peter a little something for all the positive feedback. How about a roll of filament? I'll have to ask him. I have a lot of blue, Bruce says. Apparently I have a favorite color. Let's see here. We covered the Comcast problem. Yes, it was a Comcast problem. Not my Wi-Fi, as the idiot level 1 tech support was like, we can't fix your Wi-Fi. I was like, not calling about my Wi-Fi. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the the kicker on top of all this. Before they replaced the line, I went out there to inspect what I actually could physically see and access, and they forgot to crimp the RG11 end onto the cable, so it was literally just shoved on there and put in the box. And I found this out because I went to go take the coupler that goes from the RG11 to my RG6 that goes in the house, and I unscrewed it from the box, and moved it out so I can actually unscrew it, and the whole end just pulled right off. And I was looking at it, I was like, it's not even crimped. So, yay. Let's see here. Can I link some good ESP8266 boards? Yeah, there's a lot of variations. I have the one I actually put in here, I got from one of our suppliers, and I should probably circle back with them because it worked. And it's the CP2102 USB to serial, which is a good one. Some of them have the cheaper CH340, and some they just don't seem to work as well. But she sent me a couple of these because she carries them, and I was like, I should probably sell those. I wanted to get stuff like this into our shop, so little development boards, and that way we can all kind of do projects together. Like if I'm doing something cool, then we have all the parts to do it. So let's see here. But I think, because I don't have any to sell right now, but there's a brand called, I think it's called Hiletgo, Hiletgo. It's a Chinese seller, hence the weird name. On Amazon, I believe that's one. I'm just gonna search my order history here. I think Hiletgo is the brand, because I have a few of those here. Yeah. Yep, that's the ones I've used before. I've also used the Lowland ones. The Lowland ones are a little bit larger than the Hiletgo ones. They're the Node MCU V1, I believe it's called. But the Hiletgos also have the CP2102, which is the USB to serial that you want. I've just had issues with the CH340s on the ESPs. They seem to work fine on the printer boards, but yeah. Film Fair Jackson, he wants to replace his braided sleeve for CR10. Do you know the correct width to order? I do not. I've actually never measured it. So, Film Factory's asking about the H-bridge. Just take the heatsink off and put some thermal pads between it and the heatsink. Now, every single one of these, I'll come back to this since we're talking about it, every single one of these has had these chips soldered on sideways. So I have had to actually flux these and reflow them, because if I would have powered them on, they would have blown up because they would have just shorted out. So, but I read the reviews. These are $10, and for $10, I'm willing to put up with some Chinese, shenanigans. But I got these on Amazon. They're just, you search H-bridge, it's the IBT2. This is just a generic one. I have the same one in my other humidor. It's been running for, I don't know, 6-7 months now. But yeah. So let's see. But yeah, just get some thermal pads and throw them between. Take these two screws out. The heatsink comes off. Take the two screws out. The heatsink comes off. Put them directly behind the two FETs, and then on the edges just to take pressure off, and then screw it back down, and that's all you need to do to fix it. Because right now, this runs the risk of shorting out this PCB because it's right on there. And if you read the reviews, you'll see that people had the same thing. So I went into it reading the reviews. I was like, I'm going to give it a shot, and they work out as long as you know what you're doing. So let's see here. Let me go back up. Dean Hintz is getting ready to upgrade his Hotend fan. Hang on. We can't have any of the yawning today. Okay. Just give that a couple minutes to work its way through. Let's see. Dean Hintz, getting ready to upgrade my Hotend fan and cooling fan to Hear Me 5. Got my fans for TH3D. Oh, you're just making a statement. Oh, okay. Very fast shipping. Well, I'm glad to hear that. The Hero Me Gen 5, like I said, I have it on a few machines. It works well. It's a process to get it printed and installed, and but once you get installed, it's a good cooling system. Jay Whiting says, after replacing the board with the Easy Board, I have had a Z-bending issue, never had it before. Could someone be issue with the microstepping on the stepper motor? No, I have the Easy Board in quite a few machines here. I don't have Z-banding on any of them. Z-banding is going to be either, the simplest thing would be if you have binding on there, it could be causing the motor to miss a step. Z-banding is almost always a physical issue. You could also have a loose connection between the motor and the board. And if it's not making good connection, then it's not going to step fully or it's not going to move correctly. If you want to post a picture of what you're getting in our Discord server, there's a link in the bottom of the description here. The live streams channel is where I look. Don't post them in any other channel, but if you go on there's a section called discussion. I can take a look at it. And the easy way to see if it's Z-banding, if it's like a physical issue or driver issue, if it's consistent throughout the entire print and it doesn't vary at all, it's probably a mechanical issue. One thing you could do is also try upping the current going to your Z motor. You might just need to push it just a little bit up. You can do that on the LCD screen, and I'll post a link in here. Just up it by like 0.1 amps, which would be 100 on the setting. It's just in increments of, I think it's 25 or 50. But up it and see if it goes away, and if it does go away, that could mean that your printer just might need extra amperage on that driver, or you could have something binding up and it needs more power to power through that. So I would start with the simplest thing, which is the mechanical. So, and if the board's still under warranty and you want to send it in, we have a, I don't know, send it back and we'll test it. It's only a $20 testing charge. I'll put it into a machine here that I know works. I literally have an Ender 3 Pro that all it is for testing boards. So I'll actually run through a print on it and see if I can replicate the issue. If there is an issue and it's under warranty, we'll cover it. And if there's, no issue, it's just a $20 fee plus whatever the shipping is. So let me send you the link to the VREF adjustment video, because we have a video showing how to actually do that. VREF. I'm trying to remember. Why is this not... I like DuckDuckGo, but sometimes their search algorithm is just not that great. Here we go. Easy board. It's a how-to video, and I will link that for you below. So I would start out, go over the mechanicals of your printer, and then if you don't find anything, like physically move the Z and see if you notice where it's getting harder to turn in certain spots. That would indicate it's a physical issue, but you can also try to up the current going to the motor and see if it can power through it. But either way, I would highly recommend, even if upping the VREF fixes it, I would highly recommend going over your machine and addressing the issue that is causing the extra resistance that's going to require the extra current. So, David Johnson says he's got an Ender 3 Max. I'm putting a BL Touch on. Should I get solid mounts to take out the springs? I always take the springs out when I put an auto bed leveling system on. Highly recommended. So, it just, once you have an ABL, as long as your carriage isn't warped to all hell, which most of them aren't these days, I don't like messing with the springs. Solid mounting it makes the bed more stable. It doesn't shake as much. I feel like it does improve the print quality a little bit because your bed's not like this. It's locked. But that's just my opinion. So, let's see here. Paul the Texan's asking, do I like ABS, ASA, or something else like polycarbonate for parts that need decent strength? I'm a big fan of ABS. The only problem with ABS and ASA have very similar properties. The main difference is ASA is more UV resistant. So if you're using it outdoors, it's recommended to use ASA. But ABS can work fine outside. It's just going to get faded because it doesn't have the UV resistance. If you're painting it and it's going outside, it doesn't matter what you use, ABS or ASA, because you're going to have a coat of paint on it. So ABS is good up to like 100 degrees Celsius, and after that, if the environment it's in is higher than 100 C, you're going to start getting where the part will start getting soft and warping. PEG would be 80 C, and PLA would be around 60. So, Jay Whiting says, I put my motors in the series with the Easy Board. Is that okay? Yeah, as long as you got the wiring fine, you can do that. That would be, I would check and see, I'm assuming you spliced it. I would check and double check your splices to see, because if you have intermittent connection, that could be causing issues. But if you're running them in series, you're going to want to run a lower current, because you could also be driving it too much now. the easy way to see if you're pushing too much current to your motors is feel them. And if they're too hot to keep your fingers on, especially on your Z, you're running it way too high. If you have your motors in series, you do not need to specify the dual Z stepper option, because when you put your motors in series, the driver sees it as one coil and adjusts accordingly. The reason you need to bump your VREF up when you're in parallel is because your drivers are then sharing the current, whereas in series, it sees that higher resistance and adjusts the current output accordingly, whereas if you're in parallel, it sees half the resistance of those two because they're in parallel. So JD Can't See says, I've got a runout sensor installed and there's nothing wrong with it. I did the change fill runout state from low to high, but that didn't change anything. Suggestions. Well, I don't have too much information to go off here, but if one of the things that is a gotcha, I noticed on Duet boards, I don't know if you're using Duet or Marlin. I'm assuming you're using Marlin if you're saying fill runout state, because that's how Marlin define. If you're running over USB, you typically have to have an M75 in your starting code to start the print timer, and that like engages the filament sensor. I found that if I don't have the M75 in the start code and I'm printing over USB, the filament sensor does nothing. You would want to test your filament sensor with the M119 command, just like an end stop. The M119 command in Marlin will not only give you an output report of all your end stops for your X, Y, and Z, but it will also give you an output for your filament sensor. So you want to see if the filament sensor is reporting a triggered state when the filament's present in the sensor, and it should be reporting an open state when the filament is not in the sensor. And if it's reversed, then you need, and let's say you have it set to high in the firmware, you need to change it to low, and vice versa. So you also need to have in the firmware the advanced pause feature to take advantage of the filament sensor. Oh boy. Hi. Hi. What? Come here.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So yeah, I would check with the M119 and see what's going on with that. And then that should give you a starting point. As long as the sensor's triggering correctly, I would then look at your firmware config and your starting code to see if you actually have the M75. But let's see, Dark Cloud, how often do you reapply Vision Miner? Do you clean the plate prior to reapplying? So I just reapplied on my ABS machine here. I get anywhere from 10 to 15 prints out of it, and I usually gauge on if I need to reapply. If like with ABS especially, I use Vision Miner on our PEI plates with ABS. ABS sticks okay to PEI, but sometimes on larger parts it will pull up, so I'll put Vision Miner on there and I never have issues. If I start seeing stuff pulling up, then I'll reapply the Vision Miner. I will usually reapply once over an existing coat, and then once I know I have 2 coats on the plate, I'll take it and wipe it down with some IPA and get a nice, fresh, clean surface to start with. But, you know, it wouldn't be out of line to say you're probably going to get at least 10 prints out of it before you have to reapply. So, but Samantha and my dad took Remo. Let's see here. Mike, have you updated Marlin 208 for the Easy Board yet? No, I have not had time to work on the 208 update. I've started staging it, and it will be done when it's done. I do not have an ETA. Please do not ask us when we'll have the Marlin 208 update out. It's when it's done thing. We have to do a lot of testing, and there's a lot of changes, so it's going to take a little while to get that rolled out. Jonathan Barnes says, on the 227 board, what 227 board are you referring to? 227. That's not a Creality number, is it? It doesn't sound... 227 board. I'm assuming you mean 427 board. I'm going to assume you mean 427. You're saying on the 427 board, the fan for board... Wait, the fan for the board is controlled like the part blower fan. Is this a problem on printing PETG while not running the fan and the board will get hot? Yes, it will overheat. Those boards need active cooling just because they're running trinamic drivers on a 2-layer PCB. Anytime I have a Creality machine, where the control box fan is wired to the part cooling fan output, which is very common, I will snip the end off and put it into the always-on terminal that's on the board, whether that's the main power input terminal, or if it's a board that has a separate terminal that's always on. That fan should just be always running if your printer's powered. So let's see. I'm just gonna check. Oh, Griffin's in the house here. Nico's asking, is it okay if one of the two Z-Rod stepper motors is hotter than the other, or potential problem looming? I would say it sounds like one of those has got more resistance on it than the other, or you have two different motors. Typically, if you're running two motors off the same driver, you want to make sure that they're the same motor, just so the resistance of the coils is the same. That's just my recommendation. If you're running off two different drivers, then not really that big of a deal, but I like to use the same exact stepper motors, or same spec, mainly the coil resistance on the stepper motors, to be the same when you're running two stepper motors on the same driver, even on the same printer, but that's just me being anal too. Let me see here, more questions here. Dirty Jeff, how can I get the ANET OptiBoot options back into the board options? I don't know where they went. So with any of those older boards with the ANETs or the Crealities, those ones that use the 1284 chips, if you need to flash a new bootloader, you're going to want to download the old Unified 1 package and only use that to burn the bootloader. I'm actually going to be repackaging that to be just an Arduino download for use for flashing bootloaders on the 1284p boards. Because after we get Marlin 208 updated, or get our Marlin base on Unified 2 updated 208, my next goal is to get all of the machines that we're going to continue supporting on Unified 2 ported over, so we can retire Unified 1. But the Unified 1 package has the Arduino IDE that's pre-set up. If you're on Windows, it's really easy. There's a portable version, and you can just go ahead and double-click a little bat file I put in there that auto-loads the firmware up and opens the portable IDE. So it's really, really simple. So, but if you're on Macintosh, there is a guide in our Help Center about setting up the Arduino IDE for the Mac OS, and there's also the link to the zip file that contains the additional Arduino libraries that you're going to need, because the stock Arduino IDE will not have those additional libraries by default. They're third party. So Max CJ says, oh, he's talking about the little programmer boards. Yeah, the awesome thing about these is they come in so many shapes and sizes. There's tons of different vendors that are remixing these and making all sorts of other ones. The Wemos D1 minis are like about not half the size, but almost half the size. So if you have a really small project, it's the same chip. But yeah, you can get also all sorts of small ones. There's also the ESP32s, which is our they have more memory, they're faster, they're usually dual core, and they're also dual band Wi-Fi. These are only 2.4, which I don't care for my little IoT stuff. That's not sending a ton of data. It doesn't need bandwidth, it just needs a connection. These are more than fine, but the ESP32 ones also have more input-output pins, more analog, or more ADC pins, but they're more expensive than the 8266s. So if I have a project that this will be fine for, I usually do the 8266. If I need some a little more horsepower, I'll go with the ESP32, but they're both great chips. And they're, even the ESP32 is a good one's only like $12. I mean, the ESP8266s you can get for like 6 to 7. So, we're not talking about a ton of money. Vickers is installing a 5015 blower fan for port cooling. Do I need to any adjustments for fan speed, or just let it rip? Let it rip and see how it prints. Most of the time for PLA, you're fine just, blasting it at a full blast. You'll know if you're overcooling if things start curling up too much and your nozzle starts hitting it. I was dealing with that with Bertha, actually. I was printing those Hotend models, and they kept curling up, and it was because I was overcooling, and it was causing it to shrink too fast, or causing it to curl up too fast because I was cooling it so quickly. So, might be a 3-scoop day. Yeah. There's 2 in here.
133 is the official count.
133 is the official one. That's a lot of plastic. All right. Max today is also asking, is the WD-40 dry lube PTFE spray okay for lead screws? Absolutely. That's a really, really good lubricant for the lead screws. I like that because it goes on wet and then it dries. I use it here. I also have DuPont's, but I found the DuPont brand and the WD-40 brand, they work the same. So Mike V is asking, what do I need to change for the CR10S to upgrade it to 24 volts? My question would be, what are you trying to achieve by going to 24 volts? If it's just quicker bed heat up times, because you're not really going to get faster nozzle heat up times, I would just put an AC bed on it and call it a day, because if you change your power supply to 24, you have to change your fans, your heaters, meaning your hot end heater, and your bed heater. And to change your bed heater, even if you go to a 24 volt pad style heater, you're still putting a pad on the bed. And then you're also going to have to make sure if you have an older CR10, a lot of the early boards only worked on 12 volts, meaning if you put 24 volts into it, the capacitors are going to pop because they were only rated up to 16 volts max. So most people change to 24 volts because they want faster heat up times. And my thing is, if I want faster bed heat up times, I'm just going to put an AC bed on it. So, and that's really simple to do if you just have some common sense. Take your time and terminate everything correctly. AC beds are more dangerous than DC beds because they have more potential to, injure somebody because it's mains voltage. So if that scares you, then by all means, go to 24. But if you do everything right, you ground the bed plate, you ground your printer frame, you use a solid state relay, terminate everything, make sure any exposed terminals are covered, you'll be fine. So, let's see here. Robert Vega, I just got a Duet Mini 5 Plus. How hard do you think it'd be to install an Easy ABL Pro? Well, if you can go through Duet's system, and understand all their stuff. It took me a while. I have one machine running, or two machines actually running Duets here, my CR10 and the Daedalus. I will not be doing any more Duet builds. But we do have, I'm looking it up right now. We do have a Easy ABL Duet setup information. And this assumes that you have everything else set up on the machine to use it. But this has all the little stuff that I went through in terms of configuring the sensor, wiring it, the firmware setup. It's all documented there. And I made this back in January, so it should be still relevant. It's really easy to wire it up. The main thing is the firmware configuration, but it's all documented there. Let's see. If it's 100 C out, we're all going to be boiling. Well, I mean, if you have a printed item that's in a car can get pretty damn hot. I don't know if it's 100 C hot, but, yeah. Hang on, my chat jumped again. Justin Dybell is asking, when I order a spring seal setup, I'd want textured and smooth PI on either side. Can you install those for me before shipping? So all the plates we have the manufacturer pre-install all the surfaces. The textured one is actually baked on, so it's not something that can be peeled off. And the smooth PI is a sheet that's applied onto the steel plate. We don't have, and we don't do applications of surfaces on the plates anymore. So, yeah, if you want, you would have two different plates. So, but the rear side is blank. So you could buy a textured and then buy the PI sheet separately and apply it yourself. But we don't do applications of the actual surfaces anymore. It's just too time consuming. So, but the plates, if you buy a plate from us, whether it's a smooth or textured, the surface is already on there. So you don't have to worry about doing it. But the back side of those plates are blank. So if you want to put something else on there, you can. Just know that it will reduce the strength of the magnet a little bit. It still works, but you will feel that it is weaker because you have a surface between the magnet and the plate. Mark is asking, did we release the Ender 3 Max firmware? Yes, we did. There's Ender 3 Max firmware for the Easy board, for the 422 boards, and the 427 boards. It's all on our website, the support.th3dstudio.com under the download section, or just type in Ender 3 Max and you'll find firmware for the Ender 3 Max on there. So let's see here. Michael is asking, what's the correct VREF for Creality 4.2 board for Sirius Pro V2? I don't have those documented. I actually don't even have those from Creality. I've never adjusted them, but I do have a CR10S Pro sitting here. I'll take readings on those and see what those are set to, because I know those are working correctly, and the CR10 Pro has the same board as the V2. But in general, you can figure out what it should be by determining, okay, are we losing steps on an axis? Yes. Then up the VREF by like 0.1 volts on that axis, and keep upping it by 0.1 until you stop losing steps. That's usually how I will do it. You know, there are calculations you can do based on your like the actual resistance of the coil and how much the motor can take at max. But usually what I'll do is, if I'm doing it, especially with a custom build, you know, you don't really know what it is, but you want to have enough torque or current going in that motor so it can hold its position, and even on faster prints, that it doesn't lose steps. If you're losing steps, make sure you rule out all mechanical issues before you start messing with the VREF, because it could just be a mechanical issue. And while upping the VREF can overpower some mechanical issues, you really should fix the issue that's causing the step loss in the first place. Basically, if you set your VRF too low, you're going to lose steps. You set it too high, you're going to run the stepper drivers hotter, and you're going to run the motors at a higher temperature. So you want to find that middle ground where you don't lose steps, but also the motor's not, you know, blazing hot. So, but I'm going to be doing a video on the CR10S Pro and replacing the MOSFET SSR thing they have in there, because ours is on its way out with one of our MOSFETs. So while I'm in there, I can actually take the readings and then just put a little Health Center article on there. So, let's see. What's the next question here? R Mills says he got the anti-backlash nuts from us for his Siriton S5. Am I supposed to install one? If so, it goes on the side of the X motor and extruder, right? Or do I need both lead screws? I highly recommend, because that machine has two motors. If your axis has a motor, it should go on each of the ones that have a motor. So, and what's really nice about that, and I like putting those on the S5 because that's such a wide span, that machine's huge. It's going to help prevent it from, you know, getting out of whack, because it's going to keep the gantry where it's supposed to be. So you just set it, make sure it's level, and then it's going to add some extra, just a little bit of extra resistance on there, so it takes the slop out of that, so you don't have the axis like moving on its own. Michael, I think he was the one with the CR10S Pro. Yeah, he said he's getting banding on his prints. That's usually a physical issue. So I would also make sure that board has adequate cooling, because those are trinamic drivers on that board, and Creality does not use four-layer PCBs, especially on those older ones. They might be on some of the newer ones, but you can't really tell without literally hacksawing one, and I haven't had a dead one to cut open and look under the microscope yet. But I would check your lead screws. Usually banding is a lead screw issue. Usually with the machines like that where you have the aluminum frame, even if you have a bent lead screw, it doesn't usually translate into the print, but it can. Especially if like your V-slot wheels are loose, because then you have some play. But if everything's aligned and rolling smoothly and has the correct tension, then it usually, even if your lead screw is bent, it won't affect much of anything. So, Larry M is asking, when converting to direct drive, is upping the current on the X and Y needed due to the extra rate on the Ender 5 Plus? If so, by how much? I don't think so. I think you'll be fine, because your stock settings on, like, whether it's a stock board or ours, they're already a little bit more than it needs, which is fine. You'd rather err on the side of a little too much current, as long as your motors are not running too hot, than too little, because you want to have that headroom if it accidentally bumps into something where it's just not going to lose steps. But I think it'll be fine. I haven't heard of people upping their X and Y currents on the Ender 5 Plus when they go to direct drive. So I think you'll be fine. So Cody and Ben are in the house. Haven't seen you guys in a while. Hope everything's going well. Carl Taylor, if you remove the PSU from the frame in the Ender 3, would you need to add an earth ground between the PSU and the frame? You can if you want. I have my power supply mounted on a plastic printed mount, so I don't actually have earth ground between the PSU and the frame. The main thing is you want it, at the very minimum, especially when it's separated, you want the PSU itself to have a correct earth ground to its chassis, because if it's floating and something happens, you could get zapped through the chassis. But as long as the actual chassis of the power supply is grounded, it's fine, because all that's going into that printer then is DC voltage. Now, if you had an AC bed on there, I would highly recommend grounding the frame. So, but you can do it. I don't think it's really needed, but it's not going to hurt. So, let's see here. Ah, chat just jumped. Where were we at? Sean Collins is asking about shipping to the UK. Unfortunately, we do not ship to the UK anymore. I had somebody send a ticket in. I don't know if things changed or not, but as far as I know, the UK still has their new laws where if your company's shipping in, they want you to file taxes with the UK, and that's just not something we have the bandwidth to do. And it was such a small market that we're just going to stop shipping to the UK because it's not worth the hassle. So, we're a smaller team than people think we are. So I know we have like a nice looking website and everything and whatnot, and a lot of technology powering the company, but we're a small company, and having to register and file taxes in a completely other country that we have no idea about is not something we have the time to do. So we just stopped shipping into the UK. I know there's a couple of people that are in the UK. They ship to friends in the US, and then their friends send it over as like a gift or something, because it's coming from an individual, not a company. But if we send out packages, then they're going to hold them, and then you guys won't get your stuff. So that's why we stopped shipping in. I just don't have time to figure out. I just don't have time to figure out how to collect taxes and file taxes in a completely different country that I know nothing about. So, that's it. You guys are awful quiet today. We got through all the chats. I'm surprised there's not more questions going on right now. You guys are, I think the first time in a while where I've actually caught up. We've got 102 people watching. So, I feel like we should do a little giveaway. What do you guys think? It's been a while since I've done a giveaway, other than our, monthly giveaways that we do. I think we should do that for the people watching. Where's Nightbot? I'm curious to see. Are you guys? How many of you watching are in our Discord server? It says we got 103 people watching. How many of you guys are members of our Discord server? Because that community has actually been growing pretty well. I'm not a big fan of the new branding that Discord has, but I like their product, so I'll keep using it. Let me see. How many people do we have in our server? Oh, hang on. Where's my server? There it is. Server settings. How many people do we have in our server? We've got 3,600, almost 3,700 people in our server. So, best PoE router, Kyle? PoE router? You mean like a router that has PoE ports? I mean, I use a separate router and a switch. Everything's separate here. I don't like all-in-one devices. There we go. There we go. Let's see. I think I have that set up. Oh, is it gonna? There we go. That's our Discord server here. So, anyways, let's go ahead and look at this. We have things in Nightbot here to give our channel members extra luck. Let's see. So, I think what I'm going to do is, what do I want to give away? How about an easy ABL kit? And I'm going to trust you guys that are going to enter, that you're going to go join our Discord server. Can you guys promise me that? I'm typing in the keyword here. And I think we're doing Easy ABL Kit. How does that sound? Easy ABL Kit or a $50 TH3D gift card if you already have an Easy ABL. How's that? I'm going to make the code to type in. It's going to be join Discord. And it's one word. No spaces. All lowercase. So we're going to go ahead and let you guys go ahead and type that. And then we'll do this and we'll wrap it up because this is actually perfect time. We're coming up on the 1 hour mark. What if you're already joined? Then you're good. We have all sorts of, there's fun emojis in our Discord server too. That's like really the only social media, if you want to classify it as social media, that's like the only thing I use these days. I don't really hang out. Like, I don't use Facebook aside from business stuff. I don't use Twitter aside from business stuff. But yeah, and if you are a Cult of TH3D member here on our YouTube channel, make sure you link your Discord account to the YouTube account that you're a member on, because you get access to the VIP section of the Discord. We've got a beta testing section where I'll throw new ideas out there. People can throw new ideas my way, and if stuff's good, we'll usually implement new changes to like firmware and stuff. So I also post out feelers and be like, hey, I'm thinking about, what do you think about this product or that product or this idea? Kind of float things out there and see. So, but yeah, I've also been trying to keep up with doing at least one Hangout stream for the members on YouTube here, and I will usually post a Microsoft Teams link on Saturdays or Sundays where we all just jump in and hang out. And it's not like a live stream online; it's not recorded or anything, but we just hang out and shoot the shit. Is the invite expired? I don't know, it worked for me. That's weird. Three Jeff is asking, does volumetric extrusion come enabled by default in Marlin? Yes, you have to uncomment the no volumetrics option. I highly recommend you do that because I can't, when I first was starting off, I accidentally turned on volumetric extrusion because I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And then took me like 6 days to figure out why all my prints were coming out under extruded. It was because of volumetric extrusion. Fun fact, that no volumetrics option in Marlin is there because I hacked my firmware up to do that. And then I talked to Scott and now it's a feature in Marlin. So definitely recommend not using the volumetrics option in the firmware. So, yeah. So anyways, let's not drag this out any longer. Let's find out who won an Easy ABL kit or a $50 gift card. So if you already have any, you got your choice. You can tell me what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and hit roll it. And who won? Michael Cassell. Michael Cassell. Is that the Michael Cassell I know? Michael's not even a member. Michael, are you still here? You got to be here to win. You got to be in it to win it. I think this is the Mike I know. Because he's got the cute little pupper avatar. Speaking of the puppers, I gotta go get the puppers their treats to wrap up the stream. So I'll have to go grab my little idiot. So, Michael's not even a member. So, there we go. He's always on the streams. Just, Michael, shoot me an email to streams@th3dstudio.com, and then I will get your information to send you out an ABL kit. How's that? Just send me like a screenshot, like showing that that's your account. Something that like no like personal like account information, just something to verify. Because I have had people email and try to be like, "Oh, I'm the guy who won the stream." It's like, are you really though? Are you? Are you really though? Let me go get one of my idiots and give them a treat. We gotta give Remo. Can you sit? Dear's a good boy. Come on, up, up, come. Oh no! Now we gotta. Oh, there we go. You guys can be happy. Oh God! Oh. Why are you acting crazy? Oh, he dropped it. He dropped it. Well, that got violent. He's like, I got my treat. I'm out. Stop hoarding me out for internet points. He's got his treat. So, anyways, thanks for stopping by. We're at the 1 hour mark now. I'm so glad that Comcast has fixed their issues. It looks like the stream's going pretty well. Did you guys have any issues watching this? Because I think everything looks good. Walker Wally joined the caffeine fund. That's what goes to purchasing more tubs of maw. So yeah, I'm just wondering how the stream's looking. It looks fine on my end. I'm not seeing anything dropping. Everything looks pretty good. So thank you, Comcast, for finally fixing my internet line. It only took like 4 months of badgering them to be like, hey, there's something going on with my line. So anyways, I hope you guys have an awesome Monday, as awesome as Mondays can be. And I will see you guys on the next stream. I will get the Voxelab stream set up because now we have a working Comcast line, and we also have the backup T-Mobile, so there should be no reason why I can't get a stream out. So anyways, you guys keep printing, and as always, happy print. I'll see you guys on the next one.